Somewhere tonight, someone is scrolling listings in a state they picked because a headline said it was cheap. They've never set foot there. They don't know one town from the next. They just know the number looked right on a screen. 300 miles north of wherever they're sitting, Maine keeps doing something almost nobody talks about. Farmhouses on real acreage. Waterfront on rivers most of the country's never heard of. Camps that come furnished. Plates still in the cabinet. Ready for someone to close the door behind them and stay the weekend. And prices that never caught up to what people assume New England costs. I'm Max. Every week I land in a different state and dig through listings until the list stops making sense. This week it's Maine. 10 properties, top to bottom, from $229,000 all the way down to $49,500. Subscribe. Maine is the one I couldn't stop talking about after I found it. By the time we reach the bottom of this list, there's a $49,500 house with 2 full kitchens under one roof, and I still don't have a clean explanation for that. Let's start at the top. I need to say what's inside the kitchen before I tell you anything else about this house, because if I save it for later, you'll think I got the listing confused with something twice the price. Caribou doesn't perform small town charm. It just has it. Second largest city in a rustic county, and that title still only adds up to about 7,500 people. Snowmobile trails cut behind half the yards in town. The Aroostook River runs through the outskirts, and a potato legacy that built this place still shows up in the local festivals and the farm tax rolls every fall. Bangor is 2 hours south. Nobody out here is counting the minutes to get there. This ranch sits on 3.78 acres, built in 1982 and thoroughly modernized. New flooring throughout, fresh paint, updated windows. The covered front porch has a stone half wall and wicker seating looking straight across open lawn toward the tree line. Step through the door in the kitchen is where this listing stops making sense. Navy blue cabinetry with butcher block counters and open shelving, the kind of finish you'd expect in a design magazine, not a $229,000 ranch outside Caribou. Picture a Sunday morning here. Coffee poured from that counter. The porch door propped open. Nobody on the road behind you for half a mile in either direction. The oversized attached garage has a second door size for a snowmobile or a riding mower, plus a built workbench platform with its own ramp. Somebody used the space hard. And use it well. Here's the honest part. It's a single-level ranch, so if you need real separation between the bedrooms and the living space, it runs cozier than the square footage suggests. All 3 bedrooms share the same footprint as the living room and kitchen. Everything on one level, nothing upstairs to retreat to. In Portland, $229,000 barely covers a down payment on something half this size. Here, it's 1,056 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, and almost 4 acres, with a kitchen that has no business looking this good at this price. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,056 square feet, 3.78 acres. Oversized garage with workshop space. No HOA. $229,000. That garage alone earns a second look before you even get back to the kitchen. Before the next property. Quick one. Are you watching this because Maine's actually on your radar, or is this just scratching an itch? Either way, drop it below. And the next one puts you right on the water. Because somewhere in these woods, there's a cabin where the lake is close enough to touch from bed. I need to talk about the water before I talk about the house. Because everything else about this listing only makes sense once you understand what's sitting 110 feet from the front door. Dover Foxcroft doesn't sell itself on convenience. It sells itself on quiet. The Piscataquis River runs through the small downtown. Sebrick Lake pulls people in all summer for the boat ramp and the swimming, and Foxcroft Academy, a private high school that takes local kids for free, is the kind of thing towns this size don't usually get to keep. Bangor is 37 miles away, close enough for a hospital run, far enough that you forget it exists most weeks. This A-frame cottage sits directly on Garland Pond, knotty pine floor to ceiling, a wood stove tucked in the corner, and a wall of windows on the water side that turns the living room into something closer to a dock than a house. The kitchen still runs on propane and a water jug dispenser, small, efficient, built for weekends rather than year-round living, and the layout tells you that the moment you walk in. Out back, a grassy path drops straight to the shoreline where canoes already pulled up on the grass, and a small red outbuilding sits at the water's edge for gear storage. Upstairs, the loft bedroom puts the bed close enough to the window that the quilt and the pond share the same frame. You wake up, and the water is the first thing you see. No walk required, no coffee needed first. Here's the honest part. The downstairs bathroom is still mid-renovation. Plastic sheeting up on the studs. This is a finish-it-yourself situation, not a move-in-tomorrow one. But the shoreline, the porch, and that loft window are already exactly what they're supposed to be. In Boston, $189,000 gets you a parking spot for the year. Here, it's a furnished cottage with its own dock access and 110 feet of shoreline on a pond most of the state hasn't heard of. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 756 square feet, 1.64 acres. 110 feet of waterfront on Garland Pond, with stove included. $189,000. That loft window is the whole reason to look twice at this one. Everything else is a bonus. Heartland is next, and this is the one that made me go back and check the price drop wasn't a typo. The address on this one puts you right on Commercial Street, in the middle of Heartland's main stretch, not tucked down a dirt road, not hidden behind a tree line, in town on the main drag, with a barn attached to the back of the house. Heartland runs on easy access. Great Moose Lakes is just a minute away for anyone who wants water, without owning waterfront. And Augusta, Waterville, Skowhegan, and Newport are all short commutes from here. This is a town built for people who actually need to go somewhere on a Tuesday, not just look at scenery from the porch. This 1930 New Englander has already come down $19,000 from where it started, and the seller is motivated. Back on the market at no fault to the house itself. The layout is practical. 3 bedrooms, a covered porch for morning coffee, and a big lawn with room to spread out for pets or gardening or nothing at all. Inside, the rooms are simple and lived in, plenty of natural light through the original windows, and enough square footage that nothing feels like an afterthought. The attached barn is a real find here. Bonus space for storage, a workshop, or whatever project you've been meaning to start for the last 5 years. Picture it stocked with tools by October. Sawdust on the floor. The porch door propped open so you can hear the radio playing from outside while you work. That's not a stretch here. The barn is already standing, already usable, already waiting on someone to fill it up. Here's the honest part. The basement is unfinished with a dirt floor, original 1930 bones underneath everything that's been updated. It'll need attention eventually. But nothing here is a surprise. It's priced like exactly what it is. And the drop already reflects it. In Bar Harbor, $19,000 barely covers a summer rental deposit. Here, it's already been knocked off the asking price, and the barn comes with it, no extra charge. Easy commutes to 4 different towns from one driveway is worth more than that number by itself. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,258 square feet. Attached barn. No HOA. Already $19,000 off. $180,000. This is for the buyer who wants a project with a head start, not a blank slate, a barn that's already halfway to useful. 2 down, and the next one puts a full upright piano inside a cabin that doesn't have finished floors, because somebody's priorities out there were exactly backwards, in the best possible way. I need to say there are 2 separate camps on this lot before I say anything else, because the listing photos make it look like one property, and it's actually 2 full off-grid structures sharing 7 acres and a river. Ashland sits at the edge of Aroostook County's timberland, the kind of place where the Ashland Historical Society keeps the story of the old logging camps alive, because the woods around here still run that operation today. Snowmobile and ATV trails connect straight out of town to hundreds of miles of groomed corridor, and Presque Isle is about 45 minutes south for anything the town itself doesn't carry. 7 acres come with this listing, and more than 700 feet of frontage on the Aroostook River runs along the back edge of the property. The main camp has a covered porch with rocking chairs and weatherboard siding that's earned every bit of its color, plus a stone-set foundation that's held steady through decades of Aroostook winters. Step off the back deck, and the yard drops straight down through ferns and pine to the riverbank. You can hear the current before you can see it. Inside the second camp, there's an upright piano wedged against the kitchen window. No power hookup, no finished floor. Just a full-size piano someone hauled in, because music mattered more than plumbing. That tells you something about who built this place. Here's the honest part. Neither camp is finished to a modern standard. The bathrooms are mid-rough in. The kitchens are rustic gas range setups, and the floors are bare plywood in places. This is a project for someone who wants rural river frontage and doesn't need granite countertops to enjoy it. Crime score here runs 21.2, well below the national average of 35.4, one of the lowest numbers on this entire list. Worth knowing before you write off a town this size. This is for the buyer who understands that sometimes the water is a whole point, and the two structures on it are just a bonus. In Portland, 700 feet of river frontage doesn't exist inside city limits at any price. Here, it's included with 2 camps for $175,000. 3 bedrooms across both structures, 700 square feet, 7 acres, 700 feet of a rustic river frontage. Crime score 21.2, $175,000. Next up, a ranch that got a full home gym built into a vaulted sunroom, 3 walls of glass and nothing but open field on the other side. From the air, this property looks like someone drew a straight line between the open field behind it and dropped a ranch house right at the edge where the lawn meets the trees. Reed Field sits in Kennebec County, close enough to Augusta that the state capital is a 20-minute drive, and close enough to Winthrop, and its chain of lakes that summer weekends here mean water without the waterfront price tag. Maranacook Lake draws boats and swimmers all season just a few miles off, and the local school district is one of the reasons families settle here instead of just passing through. This is a town people move to for the balance. Real country, quiet, with a real city 20 minutes away when you need it. This ranch sits on 2 acres, built with farm-ready layout that gives it real flexibility for gardens, animals, or just room to spread out. Inside, the kitchen runs oak cabinets and a sunflower curtain window over the sink, plain and functional, built for actual cooking rather than showing off. The connected dining and living space has room for a full table and a glider rocker without feeling cramped, and morning light comes straight to the picture window over the sink. Down the hall, there's a vaulted ceiling bonus room wrapped in windows on 3 sides, currently set up as a home gym, and it's the kind of room that changes what you think a $149,900 house can offer. Picture riding a stationary bike in that room at 6 in the morning. Sun coming up over the open field outside every window, nothing to look at but grass and tree line, and maybe a deer crossing at the far edge. That's not a stretch here. The windows are already doing the work. Crime score in Reed Field runs 22, one of the lowest numbers on this whole list, and worth mentioning before anyone assumes small-town Maine means small-town risk. Here's the honest part. The basement bathroom still carries some dated finishes. Kids' decor decals on the wall and older tile. Easy enough to update, but it's not a blank slate down there. This one's already under contract, which tells you plenty about how fast the right price moves in this market right now. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 938 square feet, 2 acres. Crime score 22, $149,900. Chesterville is next, and it's where a hunting camp somehow got nicer counters than half the finished homes on this list. This one stopped me, not because of the price, because of the river running right behind it, close enough that the drone shot catches the current from the upstairs window. Fairfield sits on the Kennebec River in Somerset County, a working mill town that spent the last few decades reinventing itself around the river instead of just living next to it. Waterville is 10 minutes away for anything bigger, hospitals, groceries, a real downtown, and the Kennebec Rail Trail runs right along the water for anyone who wants to walk or bike instead of drive. The old paper mill that built this town is mostly gone now, but the river it was built around is still doing exactly what it's always done, and people are starting to notice. This double lot comes with 178 feet of river frontage, sold as is, already $10,000 off the original ask. The house is mid-renovation throughout. A green-walled kitchen with cabinets and a stainless range already installed, a stripped-back mudroom with insulation still hanging exposed from the ceiling, several bedrooms down to bare plywood with ceiling fans still wired and hanging overhead waiting on a finished room to go with them, and a finished green tile bathroom with new shower enclosure that's actually done. Whoever started this rebuild got the bones right and ran out of steam before the finished work. Picture standing at that upstairs window with the drywall still bare around you, looking straight down at the river running past the back property line, and realizing the hardest part, the frame, the systems, the good bones, is already behind you. Here's the honest part. Most of the interior needs paint, trim, and flooring before it's livable room by room. This isn't a weekend project. Budget for a real renovation, and go in with your eyes open about what's left to do. But the river frontage and the double lot are the reasons to take this on in the first place. 178 feet of Kennebec River waterfront doesn't come up often at any price, let alone with $10,000 already knocked off. In Portland, riverfront like this doesn't exist under 7 figures. Here, it's a double lot on the Kennebec, already discounted for $140,000. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 788 square feet, double lot, 178 feet of river frontage, already $10,000 off, $140,000. Next, a hunting camp with live-edge countertops that look like they belong in a house triple the price. A coat and sun guide service sign hangs over the pass-through into the living room here, and that one detail tells you more about this camp than the listing photos do. Chesterville sits in Franklin County, hunting and fishing country, where camps like this one have been passed down for generations rather than listed on the open market. Farmington is about 20 minutes away for groceries and anything bigger, and the Sandy River runs nearby for anyone who wants to fish before or after a day in the woods. Mount Blue State Park isn't far either, for anyone who wants hiking in a real lake beach without driving across the state to get there. This is a kind of town where a guide service sign hanging in someone's living room isn't decoration. It's a business card. This camp sits on 1.3 acres, knotty pine wall to ceiling throughout, with a wood stove and heat shield in the main room and iron fireplace tools hung right beside it, and a screen porch out front with wrought iron lounge chairs facing straight into the trees. The kitchen is where this one surprises you. Live edge wood countertops with the bark line still visible along the edge, paired with a farmhouse sink and oak cabinetry, the kind of finish you'd expect in a renovated farmhouse, not a $133,000 hunting camp deep in the woods. Deer print blankets and hunting decor fill the main room. A bedroom holds a bare mattress under a wool blanket with big windows looking straight into the trees, and the bathroom has a corner glass shower stall and oak vanity that's nicer than most of the finished homes on this entire list. Crime score here sits at 26.7, close enough to the state average that it doesn't change the picture one way or the other. Here's the honest part. This is a camp, not a year-round residence in the traditional sense, and the driveway is deep in the woods without much visible from the road. That's the whole appeal for the right buyer, and a deal-breaker for anyone who wants neighbors. In Portland, live-edge countertops like these run into the tens of thousands as an upgrade alone. Here, they came standard in a camp that costs less than a lot of kitchen renovations by themselves. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,100 square feet, 1.3 acres, $133,000. Baileyville is next, and it's got 2 full bathrooms frozen in 2 completely different decades. I need to say there are 2 full bathrooms in this house before I say anything else, because they're frozen in 2 completely different decades, and you need to see to believe it. Baileyville sits in Washington County, Mill and Woods country near the Canadian border, home to the Woodland Pulp Mill that's kept this small town running for generations. Calais is about 15 minutes away for a real grocery store, a hospital, and the border crossing into New Brunswick if you ever need it. Down east, Maine doesn't get talk about the way the coast south of here does, but the fishing, the woods access, and the sheer amount of undeveloped land make it its own kind of draw. This is a town built around one employer and one river, and it still runs that way today. This cape sits on a third of an acre with a detached 1-car garage, curly bare studs and spray foam inside, unfinished but framed and ready for someone to close it in and finish to their own taste. The original kitchen still has its green walls and tile backsplash from whenever this house was last touched, cabinets and countertops untouched since installation, a ceiling fan turning slowly overhead. A dining nook off the kitchen has a door straight out to backyard, and a staircase with wrought iron scroll balusters leads up to the second floor toward the bedrooms and closets with original louvered bifold doors. Here's where the 2 bathrooms come in. One is done entirely in original yellow tile with the original tub untouched. The other is done entirely in pink, floor to ceiling, matching sink and toilet included. Neither one has been touched since the day it went in, and that's either a problem or a selling point depending on how you feel about mid-century color. At $62 a square foot, that number doesn't exist anywhere else on this list, and it barely exists anywhere in this market at all. This house needs paint and taste, not a sledgehammer. The bones, the layout, and the garage are already there, waiting on someone with an eye for color to bring it into this century. In Bangor, $62 a square foot buys you a storage unit, not a house. Here, it's 1,443 square feet. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a detached garage. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,443 square feet. $62 a square foot, $89,900. Dexter's necks and the whole camp, dishes, wallpaper, furniture, comes with a sale. I need to talk about what comes with this camp before I talk about the camp itself, because the sale includes literally everything inside it. Dishes, wallpaper, furniture, all of it. Dexter sits in Penobscot County, a quiet mill town built around Lake Wassakeag, one of the cleanest and deepest lakes in this part of the state. Newport and Bangor are both a short drive away for anything the town itself doesn't have, and Dexter Regional Airport still runs a small municipal strip if you're the type who flies in instead of drives. This is exactly the kind of place people come to disappear into 16 acres of hardwood forest for a week at a time and never quite leave. This cedar shingle camp sits deep in dense woods on 16 acres, barely visible through the leaf cover even from the air, with a propane tank tucked against the siding and a screened porch on one end. Inside, the kitchen is hand-built and entirely one-of-a-kind, orange and sage-green painted cabinet fronts, blue plastic utensils hung in a row, an oilcloth-covered dining table with mismatched chairs pulled up around it. The main room runs camouflage print wallpaper wall-to-wall, a wood stove with the pipe running straight up through the ceiling, and daybed-style mattress platforms doubling as seating with plastic storage bins tucked underneath for everything you'd need for a season out here. A narrow bedroom nook holds a single mattress topped with yellow quilt, and a screened porch has wrought iron lounge chairs facing straight into the trees. Picture walking in tonight with nothing but a sleeping bag and finding everything else already here. Dishes in the cabinet, blankets on the bed, chairs on the porch. That's not a metaphor. That's literally what the sale includes. Rent on a place this size runs around $1,030 a month in this market. Over 5 years, that's more than $60,000 handed to a landlord for good. This camp costs less than that. This is for the buyer who wants 16 acres and a place to disappear into, not a house that needs to impress anyone who visits. In Bar Harbor, 16 acres of hardwood forest doesn't exist under 6 figures. Here, it's $69,900, fully furnished, ready tonight. 1 bedroom, 500 square feet, 16 acres, $69,900. Last one on the list, and it's the one I still can't fully explain. A house with 2 entire kitchens under one roof. This one stopped me completely, and it wasn't the price. It's that this house has 2 entire kitchens under one roof, and nobody in the listing explains why. Blaine sits way up in Aroostook County, farm country close to the Canadian border, the kind of town built around potato fields and long sight lines instead of anything resembling a downtown. Presque Isle is about 20 minutes south for a hospital, groceries, and the closest thing to a city this far north. Fort Fairfield and the border crossing aren't far either, and the entire region runs on the same rhythm it has for 100 years. Plant in spring, harvest in fall, and quiet the rest of the time. Out here, the land does the talking, and there's a lot of it around this particular house. This farmhouse is behind a new-looking wire perimeter fence, red standing seam metal roof over a classic white 2-story frame, a long gravel driveway winding in past mature trees toward the front steps. Inside, one kitchen still has its brick accent wall and oak cabinetry with a stainless fridge already in place. Tile floor throughout. Walk further in, and there's a second kitchen mid-renovation, oven pulled, cabinet stripped bare, as if 2 households were sharing this address at once, or someone started over without tearing the first one out first. Here's the honest part. This house needs real work. A framed-in laundry nook still has box fans propped against exposed studs waiting on drywall, and upstairs is a bedroom in dark green shag carpet that hasn't been touched in decades, plus a second bedroom already updated with fresh paint and laminate flooring. This is a full renovation, not a weekend project, and the price reflects exactly that. Let's run the math on this one. Buy it for $49,500. Budget $40,000 for a full renovation, new systems, flooring, both kitchens brought up to one standard. Total cost, $89,500. Rent in this part of a rustic county runs about $840 a month. That's just over $10,000 a year. Divide the total cost by that, and this house pays for itself in under 9 years. After that, everything is yours, free and clear. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,092 square feet, $45 a square foot, $49,500. 2 kitchens, 1 roof, and a driveway that runs longer than some of these lots. That's 10. Let's talk about what all of it adds up to. So that's Maine. 10 properties, top to bottom. A ranch with a kitchen that looks stolen from a design magazine. A pond-front cabin where the water shares a frame with the bed. A barn with a $19,000 head start already built in. 2 off-grid camps with a piano and 700 feet of river. A sunroom turned into a gym with windows on 3 sides. Riverfront on the Kennebec, half-finished and already discounted. A hunting camp with countertops that don't belong at this price. 2 bathrooms frozen in 2 different decades. A furnished camp on 16 acres you could move into tonight. And a farmhouse with 2 kitchens I still can't explain. Maine's been doing this for years. Real land, real rivers, real towns. While most of the country assumed New England priced itself out a decade ago. It hasn't. It's just waiting for someone to look past the coastline everyone already knows about. Most people watching this will close the tab and keep scrolling somewhere else. You made it to the end of 10 houses in a state you probably weren't thinking about this morning. That's not nothing. All 10 listings with photos and agent contact are linked below. I'm Max. I dig through a different state every week until the numbers stop making sense. And Maine didn't disappoint. Subscribe if you want next week's state before it shows up in your feed on its own. So which one's yours? The one you'd move into? The one you'd rent out? Or are you still deciding which kind of buyer you actually are? Tell me below.